May you be inoculated. So under normal circumstances, I would have been back at work by now. But, you know, I fight for the self-isolation life. I push. There's always a wave pushing at me, and I always take it so personally because I fight hard. I even will break down and cry. I need my self-isolation. And I need people to but I've gone through many periods in life of self-isolation. It's for me, because I am a little bit strange. And I think I get a little bit bored with normal life. So to make it interesting, I really do make it a story, real life. I to make it interesting, and it depersonalizes it, yet it also personalizes it, because I make people into characters in my life, and I make a little mythology or comedy or horror story many times out of my real life. It makes it more interesting, but it also depersonalizes it because I give these characters names, and it puts a distance between me and those people, to kind of make it a story and make it have meaning, and then look down on it almost like an author and think, okay, I have choices and responses I can make. How, instead of reacting, how do I respond? Maybe this isn't personal. This character, this person in my life, it's not about me, yet it is about me because it's something I need to learn how to deal with. But going into self-isolation gives me distance and space and an ability to have more of a sense of humor and to breathe and just think in my own little world. My brother, one of my brothers, once told me a good trick, and I agree with him on this actually. He said, if a song is really fast, play it slower. If a song is really slow, play it fast. Well, jumping little Judy hit the G. Was a mighty fine girl. She brought jumping to the whole wide world. Well, she brought it in the morning, just a while before dawn. It's hard to go slow. Yeah, she brought me the news. My wife was dead. That started me to grieving, wiping her getting me to thinking about my great long, long time. That was Creedence Clearwater Revival Midnight Special. Although, oh my gosh, it's a much older song from about the 20s and 30s about being in prison, being in isolation. Guy, I think it was Lead Belly, he sang it. So, gotta get my coffee. I'm done with the beer and the limes. I'm running out of limes. I'm gonna have to start rationing the limes. I don't think I could live without coffee. I have stocked up on a couple of extra cans of ground. Instead of getting the beans and grinding them, I've gotten the ground up coffee because I go through the beans too fast. When you drink in such large quantities as I do, you gotta go a little bit cheaper. I love these like old cups from the 60s and 70s. I love them. Oh. So I was thinking about one of my first times in my life of feeling isolated, and it was an unwilling isolation. The year from my 10th birthday to my 11th birthday, because we had a huge amount of upheaval in my family, and we had to move to a big city and live on a busy street. And I wasn't used to that, and being outside of this world where I knew everyone and you could run around in the backyards with the other kids and you knew everybody, and and there was a horse pasture across the street with a pony we could feed carrots to, and you could just run around free. And suddenly we moved to a fairly big city and lived on about the busiest street in the city, and couldn't really go outside and play, didn't have our own space, didn't know anyone. And so that was a year of loneliness and isolation, and when I started writing a lot of letters, like to my grandparents, which formed a lifelong love of writing. In the year that I was 10, I discovered that writing was a really good friend and a really important part of me. And a really, really important part of me is, I kind of call it underground writing. It's writing letters, long letters. I began writing letters to my grandpa, and he loved writing letters too. And I've since found that in my dad's family, that since there's a branch that came over from Czechoslovakia, a Jewish weaving family. They were weavers and they came over here, and that particular family really, really loved telling tall tales and stories, and the men especially, and working anywhere where the written word was. So in postal positions, mail delivery, writing letters, writing books, writing poetry. And I've looked at all it just goes in that part of the family really strong. They love to write and being around the written word and stories, and they love it. It's like an addiction. So the year I was 10, 10 and very cooped up and away from everything, I began writing to my grandma. My mom made me write to my grandma, my dad's mom, and then my grandma didn't really like writing that much. It's not she didn't like me, but the thing is my grandpa was getting probably really jealous, seeing that she's writing and she's not the one that likes to write, but he loves to write. And so one day she sent me a letter and said, I'm giving the letter writing duties over to your grandpa. And so after that, I started getting typed letters, and because he could type really well, and the letters really improved and were much more fun for me. And eventually he found a typewriter that identically matched his typewriter, an antique typewriter, and he sent it to me, and he would send me ink tape, and so we would both type on these matching old manual typewriters for many, many years. And I haven't used the typewriter in many, many years. And I've looked for ink tape for it, and it's actually very hard to get ink tape now for a manual typewriter. It used to be so easy to run down to the store and get it. Because my grandpa, once he had a couple strokes, he had to quit sending me. It was the funniest thing. I hadn't ever bought ink tape. And after he got a stroke and he couldn't write or send me ink tape anymore, and I thought, oh, well, I can at least write to him. And I had to go down to the store and try to find ink tape. I'd never bought it before. And I was able to get some, but it was getting hard to do that. But yeah, the year that I was 10, I discovered that writing was a very, very good friend, and that I would never, ever, ever be isolated, ever, as long as I had a pen and paper or a computer. And then I also discovered Little Richard and rock and roll. Don't ask me why, but something changed. In all those years, I had never heard my dad's music, the music that he liked. I'd never heard it. And suddenly when I was 10, he started bringing out like all this stuff from the 60s, and Little Richard and Creedence Clearwater Revival, and Janis Joplin. I don't know, maybe he was rebelling against my mom, because she hated all that stuff. And the first time I heard Little Richard, I was in love, and I still am. Oh, he's so sexy, and he puts on an amazing performance. If you look at the old stuff from the 1960s, like in France, oh man. And then CCR, when I heard Creedence Clearwater Revival, we were eating out and there was a jukebox, and my dad stuck some money in the jukebox because we kids thought that was an amazing thing. What is a jukebox, you know? And he picked out some songs, and there was Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I thought, oh, I'm in love. I love that sound. Anyway, I'm not sure we're ever isolated without our modes of communion, although we need to share them because these are communion things, but we can commune with ourselves. And there are many, many ways. Writing, singing. I consider singing, doesn't matter if you can sing well or not, but you sing to yourself and you sing. And even having an instrument, even though I'm horrible at it, I can actually literally feel that it's getting me back in harmony, like my cells. Maybe that sounds strange, but it's like a cleansing. I'm communing and getting all my little bits and parts working a little better, my ears and my voice, and it really helps keep me calmer. And I noticed that I went to get some guitar strings just in case I get trapped in the house and can't do anything because everything's closed here. There's no music, no bars, no pubs. I thought, oh my gosh, the guitar strings are gonna sell out because everyone's gonna be inside. And there's so many musicians that live around here. Like, there's a lot. So I went to the guitar store to get some strings for in case I get quarantined. And because I consider music and just fiddling around to be really healing for me, especially if I've been sick. And survival tools and weapons. And the music store was the only place that's still one of the few social places that's allowed to be open. And there was tons of people in there just hanging out, but it was so calm and peaceful, and all the people working in there just seemed like they were zen. Just this golden, calm, wonderful feeling, and they're so polite. And I thought, oh, I could live in here. The feeling just feels so good, hearing music around, different people talking and having conversations, and it's pretty awesome. But there are different ways we can learn to communicate and communicate with ourselves and with others, so that we're not isolated. Even when we're alone, we do not have to be isolated. And I've learned this over and over again in life. Sometimes too much socializing actually is cutting us off from ourselves. It's running away. There has to be a balance for all of us. Anyway, enough of my talking for now. Sayonara. May the force be with you.